For the first 6 months, my restaurant was filled with the sound of crickets and my own quiet sobbing. Then, overnight, we were the hottest ticket in town, with 5-star reviews and lines around the block, and I thought my dream had come true. That was until I found the invoice that proved my dream was a beautifully constructed, 5-star lie, paid for in full by the one person I trusted most in the world. My restaurant, the Gilded Spoon, was my everything. It was the culmination of a lifelong obsession that started when I was a kid, standing on a stool in my grandmother's kitchen, the smell of yeast and melting butter clinging to my clothes like a second skin. I wasn't just a chef, I was a storyteller, and food was my language. I'd poured every dime I had, every last drop of my inheritance from Grandma Rose, into a cozy little corner spot in a neighborhood that was supposed to be up and coming. The walls were a warm, buttery yellow, the tables were reclaimed oak, and the open kitchen was my stage. I designed a menu that was both ambitious and comforting, full of dishes that held memories for me, like the braised short rib that tasted like Sunday dinners, and the lavender panna cotta that was the exact shade of the twilight sky on the evening I decided to go to culinary school. But dreams, as I quickly learned, don't pay the bills. The first few months were brutal. The up and coming neighborhood was apparently still on its way up, and my little street was just a little too far off the beaten path. Some nights we'd have 2 tables. 2. I'd stand in my gleaming, state of the art kitchen, the pristine stainless steel mocking me, and watch my 2 loyal line cooks, Maria and Carlos, meticulously prep food that would likely end up as staff dinner. The silence in the dining room was a physical weight, broken only by the clinking of cutlery from our handful of patrons and the hum of the industrial fridge, a constant reminder of the money I was hemorrhaging. I'd smile brightly at the few customers who did wander in, a mask of cheerful hospitality plastered over a face that was puffy from crying myself to sleep the night before. I was drowning, and the shoreline was nowhere in sight. My older brother, Samuel, watched all of this with a pained expression that was a mixture of pity and I told you so. Sam is 15 years my senior, a shark in a tailored suit who'd made his fortune in marketing. He saw the world in terms of analytics, ROI, and brand synergy. To him, my restaurant wasn't a dream, it was a poorly optimized business venture. Scarlet, passion doesn't move inventory, he'd say, leaning against my bar, sipping a ridiculously expensive whiskey I couldn't afford to drink myself. Your food is incredible, kid, I'll give you that. Best I've ever had. But a great product is useless without a great strategy. You need a buzz. You need a narrative. I hated when he talked like that. It felt so sterile, so corporate. I have a narrative, Sam, I'd argue, gesturing around the empty room. It's about honest food made with love. It's about creating a space where people can feel at home. He'd sigh, that long-suffering brotherly sigh that made me feel about 12 years old. That's not a narrative, that's a mission statement. A narrative is, this unknown chef came out of nowhere and is revolutionizing the culinary scene. You need influencers. You need 5-star reviews. You need a line of people taking selfies outside your door. He offered to help, of course. He wanted to invest, to take over the marketing, to synergize our assets. But I refused. Stubbornly, proudly, foolishly. The Gilded Spoon was mine. Its success or failure had to be on my own terms. I didn't want his slick, calculated world tainting my honest little dream. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night in October. It was raining, a miserable, soul-crushing downpour that ensured no one would be venturing out. We had 0 reservations. 0. I sat in my small office, a converted closet smelling faintly of onions and despair, staring at a mountain of unpaid invoices. The fish supplier, the produce guy, the linen service, they were all threatening to cut me off. I had maybe 2 weeks of operating capital left before I'd have to close the doors for good. The thought was a physical blow, knocking the air from my lungs. I imagined having to tell Maria and Carlos, who had families to support. I imagined the shame, the colossal public failure. The dream wasn't just dying, it was taking me down with it. That night, I finally broke. I called Sam, my voice choked with tears. I can't do this, I whispered into the phone, the sound of the rain outside drumming a funeral march for my aspirations. You were right. It's over. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Then, Sam's voice, unusually soft. It's not over, Scar. Don't you dare give up. Let me make a few calls. Let me see what I can do. Just hang on. I didn't have the energy to argue. I just mumbled a defeated okay and hung up. I figured he'd call a few of his business contacts, maybe convince them to book a corporate dinner. I didn't expect a miracle. But a miracle, it seemed, was exactly what Samuel had in mind. 2 days later, a Thursday, the phone started ringing. And it didn't stop. It was like a switch had been flipped. On Friday night, we went from 0 reservations to being booked solid. I stood at the pass, staring out at a dining room buzzing with a full house, and felt a dizzying mix of elation and confusion. Where had all these people come from? It wasn't just full, it was the right kind of full. The tables were filled with stylish, attractive people, the kind who photograph their food before they eat it. Laughter and conversation filled the space that had been so oppressively silent just days before. Maria and Carlos were flying around the kitchen, their faces slick with sweat but lit up with adrenaline and relief. For the first time in months, we were in the weeds, and it felt glorious. Then the reviews started appearing. 5 stars. Everywhere. Gushing, effusive praise on every food blog and review site imaginable. A hidden gem that won't be hidden for long, one read. Chef Scarlett is a culinary genius, weaving magic with every dish, said another. They were poetic, almost professional in their prose. My lavender panna cotta was described as a sweet, ethereal dream on a spoon. My braised short rib was hailed as a master class in comfort food. It was everything I had ever wanted to hear, but it felt unreal. Like I was reading the script for a movie about my life, not my actual life. The next week, the local paper's most notoriously difficult food critic came in. I nearly had a heart attack. He was a terrifying man with a hawk-like nose and a reputation for eviscerating restaurants for sport. He ate silently, his face an unreadable mask, and left without a word. I spent the next 48 hours in a state of sheer panic, convinced he was going to tear me to shreds and expose this whole strange fluke for what it was. But his review came out, and it was a rave. A glowing, almost sycophantic tribute to my bold yet nuanced cooking. He declared the Gilded Spoon the most important restaurant to open this decade. After that, all hell broke loose. The phone rang off the hook. We were booked out for 3 months straight. People were clamoring for reservations. We had to hire 2 more servers and another line cook just to keep up. I was a local celebrity overnight. I did interviews, posed for photo shoots, and was even invited to do a cooking segment on a morning news show. I was swept up in a whirlwind of success so fast I didn't have time to question it. I was exhausted, stressed, but deliriously happy. My dream was coming true. The food, my food, was finally getting the recognition I always believed it deserved. Sam was insufferably smug about the whole thing, of course. He'd saunter in, bypass the line of people waiting for a table, and clap me on the shoulder. "See? Told you," he'd say with a grin. "You just needed a little push. A little buzz." A little buzz? I'd laugh. "Sam, this is a full-blown hornet's nest. What did you do? Call in a few favors?" Something like that, he'd say, always a little vague, deflecting with a wink. I just got the right people to pay attention. Your talent did the rest. And I believed him. Why wouldn't I? My food was good. The praise felt deserved, even if its sudden arrival was a mystery. I reasoned that all it took was one domino to fall, one influential person to notice us, and the rest followed. Sam had just pushed over that first domino. But little things started to niggle at the back of my mind. I noticed that some of the influencers who came in and posted glowing stories about us all seemed to use the same PR-friendly hashtags. A couple of times, I overheard snippets of conversations from diners that sounded scripted. One woman at table 7 was describing my risotto to her friend using the exact phrasing from a popular food blog review. It was weird, but I brushed it off. I was too busy, too thrilled to let a few odd coincidences spoil my victory. I was living the dream. The dream came crashing down on a rainy Tuesday, almost 2 months to the day after my tearful phone call to Sam. He had been using my office to take a business call, and after he left, I noticed he'd accidentally left his briefcase behind. I was about to call him when I saw a folder sticking out of it, labeled simply Gilded Spoon Project. Curiosity got the better of me. I told myself I was just looking for a laugh, maybe some of his boring marketing PowerPoints. My hands trembled as I opened it. It wasn't a PowerPoint. It was a thick stack of invoices and contracts. The first one was from a company called Momentum Marketing. The line items made my blood run cold. Tier 1 review package, 50 plus positive reviews across all major platforms. Influencer outreach program, 15 paid posts from mid-tier food bloggers. Media placement, guaranteed feature in local publication. There was another invoice from a talent agency for background actors to fill seats on key nights. And another, a direct payment to the hawk-nosed food critic, listed as a consulting fee. But the final page was the one that shattered me. It was a master invoice, totaling over $50,000. It detailed every single step of the buzz Sam had manufactured. Every 5-star review, every gushing article, every influencer who had posed with my food had been bought and paid for. At the bottom of the page, in Sam's neat, decisive handwriting, was a note, Phase 1 complete. Scarlett believes it's organic. Monitor for Q4 and prepare for Phase 2. My success wasn't a domino effect. It was a meticulously crafted, expertly executed lie. And I was the star of a show I didn't even know I was in. I stood there in my tiny office, the folder clutched in my hand, the rustle of the papers roaring in my ears. The joyous sounds from the kitchen, the clatter of pans, Carlos's booming laugh, felt like they were coming from another planet. Each invoice was a stab to the heart. Momentum marketing, a talent agency, a consulting fee. The words swam before my eyes, branding themselves onto my brain. $50,000. Sam had spent $50,000 to build me a house of cards. My first instinct was pure, unadulterated rage. I snatched my phone and called him, my thumb jabbing at the screen so hard I was surprised it didn't crack. He answered on the second ring, his voice infuriatingly cheerful. "Hey, Scar. Everything okay? You sound out of breath." "You left your briefcase," I said, my voice dangerously low and tight. I opened it. The silence on the other end was heavy, damning. I could almost hear the gears turning in his head, the strategist calculating his next move. "Ah," was all he said. "Ah," I practically screamed, all pretense of calm shattering. "That's all you have to say? Ah, what the hell is this, Sam? Gilded Spoon Project. Tier 1 review package. You paid them. You paid all of them. The bloggers, the reviewers, even that miserable food critic." "Scarlett, calm down and let me explain," he started, his tone shifting into that placating, corporate negotiation voice I hated. "Don't you dare tell me to calm down." I was pacing now, a caged animal in my shoebox office. My dream, my restaurant, it's all fake. The lines, the praise, none of it is real. You bought it. The restaurant is real. He shot back, his own voice rising. The food is real. Your talent is real. All I did was level the playing field. You made a world-class product, but you had a C-minus marketing plan. I just gave you the launch you deserved. The launch I deserved. I deserved to earn it. I deserved for it to be honest. I came to you broken, Sam, and you didn't help me, you just built a beautiful lie around me. Did you hire actors? Did you really pay people to just sit in my dining room and pretend to eat? The thought was so humiliating, so deeply pathetic, that I had to lean against the wall for support. It was just for the first couple of weeks, he said, his voice laced with exasperation. To create a visual, to generate momentum. It's called perception management, Scarlett. It's what good marketing is. We created a narrative of success, and now it's becoming a reality. The people coming in now aren't actors. The reservations are real. We just gave them a reason to find you. A fake reason. I sobbed, the anger collapsing into a wave of despair. The entire foundation is a fraud. Every time someone tells me they came here because they read a great review, I'm going to feel like a complete imposter. Because I am. Our argument raged on, circling the same drain of his pragmatism versus my principles. He insisted the ends justified the means, that my food was genuinely good enough to sustain the hype he had created. He called it a kickstart, an investment in my brand. I called it a betrayal. He had stripped me of the one thing that mattered more than success, the satisfaction of knowing I had earned it myself. He had taken my dream and turned it into a business transaction. By the time we hung up, nothing was resolved. I was left shaking with a toxic cocktail of fury and heartbreak. The next few weeks were a special kind of hell. I was living a double life. To the world, I was Chef Scarlett, the culinary world's newest darling, the humble artist whose genius had finally been recognized. But on the inside, I was a fraud. Every smile to a customer felt fake. Every thank you for a compliment felt like a lie. I'd look out at the packed dining room, at the happy, chattering faces, and a cold dread would wash over me. Who among them was real? Whose praise was genuine? The joy I'd once felt in the kitchen had curdled into a constant, low-grade anxiety. I started to scrutinize every review, every comment, searching for a hint of authenticity. Was this person real? Or was this another part of Sam's phase one? The success felt hollow, tainted. It was like being given a beautiful, expensive trophy that I knew I had stolen. It sat on my mantelpiece for everyone to admire, but every time I looked at it, it just reminded me that I was a thief. The conflict with Sam festered. He'd come by the restaurant, acting as if nothing had happened, beaming with pride at the bustling scene. "Look at this, Scar. You're killing it," he'd say. And I'd just stare at him, my eyes cold, before turning back to my work. My staff noticed the tension. Maria pulled me aside one day, her brow furrowed with concern. "Is everything okay, Chef? You seem distant." I wanted to tell her. I wanted to tell them all the truth, to confess my sins. But what would that accomplish? Maria, Carlos, my new hires, they were all depending on this job. The Gilded Spoon success wasn't just my dream anymore, it was their livelihood. If I came clean, if I exposed the lie, the public humiliation would be swift and brutal. We'd be a laughing stock. The restaurant would fail for real this time. Everyone would lose their jobs. My life savings would be gone, and I'd be in debt for the rest of my life. My lowest point came during an interview with a national food magazine. The journalist was asking me about my meteoric rise to fame. She said, "It's such an inspiring story. A true testament to the idea that if you build it, they will come. That quality always wins out in the end." I sat there, under the bright lights of the camera, a smile frozen on my face, while my stomach churned with guilt. I mumbled something about hard work and passion, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. That night, I went home and looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't recognize the person staring back at me. Her eyes were haunted. Was this success? Was this my dream? Because it felt a lot more like a prison. I was trapped. I could either detonate the lie and destroy everything and everyone around me, or I could keep playing the part, building a life on a foundation of fraud and lose myself in the process. The tipping point wasn't a grand explosion, but a quiet, intimate moment. A young couple was celebrating their anniversary at table 4. They were shy, clearly saving up for this night out, and they treated every dish I sent out like a piece of art. The woman's eyes welled up when she tasted the lavender panna cotta. This, she said to her husband, her voice thick with emotion, tastes like the evening we got engaged. At the end of their meal, the husband slipped me a handwritten note. It wasn't a review for a blog, it was just for me. It said, "Thank you, chef, for making our night perfect. Your food is made with heart. We can taste it." I held that note in my hand and something inside me shifted. Their experience was real. The joy my food brought them was genuine. It had nothing to do with Sam's marketing schemes or paid for reviews. It was about the connection between the plate and the palate, between my heart and theirs. In that moment, I realized Sam was both right and disastrously wrong. He had built the stage, yes, a gaudy, fraudulent stage, but I was the one putting on the show. And the show, my food, was honest. That night, I called a staff meeting. I looked into the faces of Maria, Carlos, and the rest of my crew, the people who worked tirelessly, who believed in me, whose livelihoods were tangled up in this mess. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. I told them everything. I laid out the whole sordid story, from the fake reviews to the paid actors. I didn't spare myself or Sam. I confessed my own weakness in letting the lie go on for as long as it had. I expected shock, anger, disappointment, and there was some of that. But mostly, I saw a quiet, resolute understanding. "Your brother is a jerk, chef," Carlos said finally, breaking the silence. "But the people who come back, the ones who book a second and a third time, they're not coming back for a blog post. They're coming back for your short rib." Maria nodded in agreement. "We are here because of your food. They are here because of your food. The foundation is not the lie, chef. The foundation is what happens in this kitchen." Their loyalty was a balm on my wounded conscience, but it didn't solve my dilemma. It only deepened it. Now their faith was on the line, too. I had a choice to make, but it wasn't the binary one I'd imagined. It wasn't just about confessing to the world or living a lie. My team had shown me a third path: to make the lie irrelevant, to outgrow it, to build something so real and so good that it would eventually overshadow the fraudulent way it began. The next day, I went to Sam's office. I placed the Gilded Spoon project folder on his polished mahogany desk. "I'm not going to expose you," I said, and I saw the flicker of relief in his eyes. "Because doing that would punish the wrong people. It would punish my staff, and it would punish me. But this is over." I slid another piece of paper across the desk. It was a payment plan, meticulously drafted. "This is a loan," I said, my voice unwavering. "You spent $50,000 on your project. I'm paying you back every cent, with interest. I don't want your money tainting my restaurant for a second longer than it has you." Sam looked at the paper, then back at me. For the first time, I think he truly saw the damage he had done, not to my business, but to me. The smugness was gone, replaced by a deep, hollow regret. "Scarlett, I was just trying to help. I couldn't stand watching you fail." "I know," I said, and the anger was finally gone, replaced by a weary sadness. "But you have to understand, Sam. I would have rather failed honestly than succeeded like this. From now on, I do this my way. No more marketing gimmicks. No more narratives. The only story will be the one on the plate. It hasn't been easy. I'm still working to pay Sam back, which means my profit margins are razor thin. Some of the buzz has inevitably died down without the constant fuel of a paid marketing machine. The trend chasers and the influencers have moved on to the next hottest ticket in town. But the people who genuinely love our food keep coming back. The couple from Table 4 returned for their next anniversary. The regulars who were with us from the very beginning still come in every Friday. We are building a reputation, slowly and brick by brick, based on word of mouth and the simple, undeniable truth of a good meal. The 5-star reviews from that initial paid blitz are still online, a permanent ghost of my restaurant's fraudulent birth. Sometimes, I'm tempted to try and get them taken down, but in a way, I'm glad they're there. They serve as a reminder. A reminder of the compromise I made, of the line I walked. I live in a gray area. I didn't come clean to the public, and I am still, in some ways, profiting from a reputation I didn't entirely earn. But the food is real. The passion is real. My team's hard work is real. Is it possible to build something true on a foundation of lies? I still don't know the answer. I'm just taking it one day and one dish at a time. So, tell me, what would you have done? Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe and give this video a like. We appreciate everyone and can't wait to bring more stories your way.